Hey guys, and welcome back. So, today we're going to look at a simple little dashboard that we're going to build that's going to help us maybe choose a movie for this evening. I found this data set, it's the Pixar movie data set, and we're going to use that. So, it's going to be, in the end, this is what we're going to build. So, you're going to be able to make selections using buttons by saying new releases, and it's going to show you all the new releases, or maybe look at some classics. And then you have your audience ratings, which you can change, and tomato meter rating, so you can choose your movies which category you want it to fall under. Based on that, you get a selection of movies that you can select from. It seems like with the selections that we have made here, Toy Story 1 and 2 are the top ones, but Toy Story 2 falls outside the range, so that's why it's blue. The one in red is falling inside the range. So if we should watch a movie based on our movie selections, it should be this one. Perfect. So if you're interested to learn how to do this, stick around. Let's start from scratch. You're in your dashboard now. Let's create a new app. Let's call it Pixar Movie Selector. Let's create. Now the app is being created. Great. Now let's add data. I want to add it as a drop file, and I already have it here. Pixar Rotten Tomato file, and we're gonna add it next. All right, so let's go to build a sheet, and now we have, let's first just have a look at our data. If we go into, so we have just one table here, and if we look at preview, so we have ID, movie, release year, tomato meter rating, audience rating, difference. So let's get after it and let's see what we want to build. Now, if I look, let's just create a table to see what's really going on here. So we drag and drop table, add dimension, and you can go down, select movie, and let's add a measure. That is, let's add tomato meter. Now we know that this is, well, it's a measure, but you can also add it as a dimension because it's a single value for each. Right? So, okay, and we have year, released year. All right, cool. So if we want to build a dashboard like I showed before, we want to create buttons. So let's say that we want to choose movies first based on years. And it's difficult for you to say, I want to watch a movie from 2018, 2019, 2020. Instead, let's like segregate years into different categories, right? Let's say that those that were released this year and last year were recently released, something like that, just so that it makes it super easy for us to add buttons. So there are two ways you can do this. One is, let's go to Data Manager, and we could add a new field here. So you have add field, calculated field. So you can add a new field here. So you can say add a calculated field, let's say your classified, and you can put in an expression. Now what would the expression be? So you could say that if released year, which is our year field, is greater than or equal to, let's say, our current year and the previous year. And how do we get the current year? So you want it to be dynamic, right? So let's say you you have a function called today, so you put today, and what Qlik is going to do is it's going to load today's date, and from that you want to extract the year, so you know that this is the current year. And then let's say current year minus 1. So this should give us all the released movies for last year and this year, right? And if it is, what are we going to say? We are going to say new release, new releases. Otherwise, we're going to say if released year is greater than or equal to year today minus 5 years, still recent. And we're going to say these are recent. Else we say if released year is greater than or equal to year today minus 10, then we're going to say old releases. Else we're just going to say that these are maybe classics. Yeah. So what are we saying here? If released year is greater than or equal to this year and last year, then we're gonna name it as new releases. Otherwise, for everything in the past 5 years, it would be recent. Otherwise, we say old releases or classics. So let's see if this works. Let's just copy this because I want to show you another way of doing it. And let's click on create. And great. So now you have a new field here that is created. And you can call this in your app in the front end. Now there's another way you could do this. That is, you could go to, let's say, data load editor, and you could add your if statement here. So we have this, let's unlock it. Oh, and that's when Qlik Sense just opens up to you, right? So, and you can see that it's already created here. But if it's not, you could just, you have difference, and then you could write your if statement here. So if if released year is greater than or equal to year of today, it's going to pull out the year minus 1. Then we want to name it as new releases, and exactly like how we wrote it there. So, and this would be as year classified, and then you would run it, and you would get the table. So now let's use this year classified. So let's go here. Let's create little buttons here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into our charts, and here we have something called button. So we're going to drag and drop the button here, and when you click on it, so basically what this button does, you have a bunch of actions that you can link to it. For example, you can say when I click the button, take me to a particular sheet, show me a particular chart, or you could put a link, an external link. It's quite versatile. And so now what we are going to do is we're going to create a button here, and we're going to go to actions and navigations, and we're going to add an action to the button, because when we click on this button, we want it to select new releases. So just make sure that it's written the correct way. Then we're going to go into actions, and we're going to say here, we're going to say whenever you click this button, we want to select possible values in a field, or select values in a field, and click on this. So basically what we're saying is, hey, when we click this button, whatever your value is, make that selection in the particular field that I select. So here, which is the field? The field would be this year classified that we just created. So it's going to be year classified. So let's go to field and let's search for year classified and click on that. And when you click it, what do you want the value of this to select? And here actually we're gonna write new releases. So the value is when this button has a value of new releases, and whenever it's clicked, you're saying select the new releases in a field, and which field is that from the years classified. So when you click the button in the years classified field, it's going to click new releases. So essentially, this is like, let's put a filter pane, and we're going to add years classified here. And if you want to select movies of a particular year, you say classics, and only classics are selected. But instead, we want to do that using buttons, and that's what we're doing. We're trying to put this into a button now. And here, I'm going to say years classified, new releases. This is done, and I'm just going to rename, go to appearance. And here, the label, I'm going to give it as new releases, and we can change some, let's say, make it a smaller font. Let's go to background to maybe change this color as well. Yeah. So now we have one button that says new releases, but we have several here. We have classics, we have old releases. So we just want to duplicate this button. So let's copy, paste, and let's just change the values to here. We have classics, we have old releases, and I think we have also recent. So new releases, let's say next one is recent. And let's go into, we have selected the second one, and here we're gonna, yeah, we don't need this. And here we're gonna give it recent. And we're gonna go into appearance, and we're gonna give the label as recent. And then you're gonna do the same for the other two that we have here, that is old releases and classics. So just copy, paste, so let's just get everything from that particular field. So whenever you want to make a selection, you have it automatically here. So now let's just adjust this a little bit. I think the mistake here is, let's click on it and nothing is selected. And I think if we go back in, we need new releases. We're giving it, it's a value. So let's just put a equal to sign there, and that should, and let's click on, voila, it works. So now when I click on this button, you see that new releases are automatically selected. So that's what select values from a field does. So now let's just yeah, uh, let's put equal to all of them here. So now these buttons should work. So now when I click on classics, classics is selected here, and you see that the movies are changing here. Great, so we are one step closer. Now what else do we want to create? Now we can see here that we have tomato meter rating, and then we have something called audience rating. If I show you the fields, we have audience rating and tomato meter rating. So why not use that to make our selection? That would be pretty cool, right? So let's go to charts. Let's look at a scatter plot. Let's put a scatter plot here. And let's put our bubbles as movie names. and let's put our x-axis as our tomato rating. Now, since it's a single one, there's just one value. It's not really a measure, so we can use max, min. I mean, it won't matter, right? Or especially over here, one tip is if you have a single value, what you could use is only, and that's also that'll also work. But in this case, even max should give you the um, should give you pretty much the same value. So now I have audience rating, and let's just change that to only. It won't make any difference, but just okay. So now we have our audience rating here, our tomato rating here. So, and we have all the movies. If we take away the selection, basically we have all movies here. And now we're trying to select, hey, show me all the old releases. And we click on that. And now we have these to select from. And you know that the ones on the right are the ones with higher rating, ones that are higher has higher rating. So in this case, Inside Out has the highest rating. So it's already helping us choose. Let's just make it a little more cooler, right? Why not? So one thing what we can do is let's create like a little play around. So let's say, hey, today I want to watch a movie. Show me all movies over 80, over 90 as the rating. So how would, and we want this one to automatically select only those. So let's see how we can do that. So let's go to let's create two variables first. And the way you do that is go to variables. So let's go to variable and let's create a variable for, let's say, a variable for the audience rating. The audience rating, and you don't need to put anything here. And then let's create another variable for tomato rating. And let's just leave that definition as well. And now we have these two new variables that we have created. And the values are, we haven't assigned any values to it. So let's assign some values. And how do we do that? Let's go to custom objects here. And then let's go to dashboard and let's go to variable input. Let's drag it and drop it here. And this one, let's put our audience rating. So what we're saying is, hey, as we play around, we want this particular chart to become interactive and calculate the audience rating. So here we go to variable. We say select what is the name of the variable that you want to input here. And this one is the audience rating. And you want to show it as, I want to show it as a slider actually. I want it to update on drag as I'm dragging it. And then I want the value from 0 to 100. That makes sense because I see here that tomato rating is from 0 to 100 and the audience rating is also from 0 to 100. And maybe steps of 10, that would be cool. And we want the slider label on so that it shows us here what's happening. And that's about it, I think. Let's give it a title. Let's say audience rating selector. And right. And what do we want? We want, as you change this, you want a line here to show you which are the movies where once you've selected an audience rating, you want it to only show movies that actually match it, right? So let's go back to our scatter plot, and here what we can do is we can add let's go to add-ons. Let's go to x-axis reference. Now in this case it would be y-axis. So let's go to y-axis reference lines. And let's give the expression here as v audience rating. So now we have created a variable. We are calling the variable here, and the value for the variable is given in the variable input. So I hope that makes sense. Now, as I change 60, 70, you see, you have a line here, and this is showing us now that these are the movies that are over the selection that you have made. That's pretty cool. Now let's do the same thing for our x-axis as well, and that is let's just copy this. Let's paste it here. And we're going to go in here and we're going to select this as our tomato rating. Slider again, values would be the same. And we're going to rename it as our tomato rating selector. Done. And now when you move this, nothing happens because now the variable tomato rating is actually being updated to 80, but we haven't called it anywhere. So let's call it here. Let's go back to this. Let's go here and let's call this as our add-ons, x-axis reference lines, add reference line, expression, v, tomato rating, apply. And now we have the quadrant that we want. So as you choose this, you have movies inside out, and these are the only movies here. So now we have all the movies. So it's still a little bit hard to see what's going on. And let's say let's change the colors of these, and let's also change the way the bubbles look. So first, let's go to data. Let's go to size, and let's say show, because we want to see the movies that are most popular, right? So let's add size as our tomato rating, and I think that would be cool. And now the ones with more rating is a higher bubble, as you can see here. We can change that a little bit if you want, but we can change the size of the bubble by going into appearance and presentation. So this makes it a little more clear. Let's add navigations here. Next, let's go to general. Let's first add a different color here. So let's go to colors and legends. Let's turn this one off because we want when the movies fall in the category that you want, that is over a certain audience rating and over a certain tomato rating, you want it to like really pop out so that you can see like what's really happening. So what we can do here is go to expression, and we say if the audience rating is greater than or equal to, let's make it greater than the selection that we have made there in our variable. So that is v audience rating, and tomato rating that we have is also greater than the selection that we have made, that is v tomato rating. Then change the color of it to, let's say, red. Otherwise, leave it as blue. Yeah. So what are we saying here? So the audience rating of each movie. So you know that each movie has an audience rating and a tomato rating. Now, if the audience rating is greater than whatever we have selected, and if the tomato rating is also greater than what we have selected, that means that those are the movies we are interested in. Then change that color to red. Otherwise, leave it as blue. So let's click on apply. Let's see what happens. And voila. All the ones in your target quadrant have a particular color now. So it's easier for you to select. So now what have we done? So let's say you and your girlfriend chilling. You want to select a movie. So you go to your app and you try to show off and you say, I've built an app. We're gonna choose a movie, and this is how we're gonna do it. What kind of movie do you want to watch? New releases, recent, old releases, classics? And she says, maybe recent. And you click on recent. Now you're automatically filtered to a few movies, and you say we want the audience rating 90 for sure, and tomato rating 90 as well. So the best of the best. And you know what? There's only one movie that falls into this rating, and that's Coco. And that's what you're gonna watch. Um, I mean, maybe. I don't know. Because if you have analysis paralysis or the paradox of choice, if you have Netflix, then, well, you're gonna go through this a bunch of times. So let's click on new releases. Same. You know what? With 90 and 90, we don't have any movies, so let's reduce it a little bit. Lower your expectations. Always a good option if you want to be happy with the movie that you've selected, and then you have two in this particular category. So it works as we want. Let's take this one away. Let's just clean up our little dashboard. Let's make this a little smaller. Oh, okay. It doesn't. Yeah, and make this a little smaller. Drag it here and remove this. Let's keep the table because I think the table is nice. Let's give this a name. We're gonna name this as our movie details. And we're gonna say movie table. And the table doesn't really make sense here. We're gonna keep the year because maybe that gives us a little more idea on what's happening. Bring the tomato rating down. Let's also add the audience rating. Yeah. So this would be your little movie picker. So you're gonna say I want to look at old releases and maybe audience rating of 70, tomato rating of 70, and you look around and these are the ones that are selected and you see the ones here as well. And you can always sort it out based on the ratings and make a selection, and you see the years and details. So I just thought that this would be a pretty cool thing. You learn a lot of things here, how to use variables using buttons, and um, I hope that you liked it. I would really appreciate if you left a comment on some things you would like me to add. Maybe we can make this better, or just please leave a like. I would really love it. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one. Peace.